Hey, lovelies. I'm just responding to some queries that I have around how I blend meditation, creativity, and the chart of human design. So, what I thought I'd do in today's video is I would go through one of the sessions I recently had with a client and explain how the process goes so that you can kind of understand for yourself how you might want to use creativity for your own human design chart, and also maybe how it might be useful to work with somebody around gaining a new perspective and a fresh insight into how human design can help you to navigate and work with the energies internally, but then also in terms of moving through your day to day. So I'm excited to show you this and delighted to have agreement from the client around the use of this image. So let's start. So the human design chart gives an overlay of the energies that you have defined in your body or body graph, and what remains consistent and reliable to you, and what remains open to influence, especially from the transits or from other people. So this client came to me because there was a particular element of her chart that intrigued her, and she couldn't quite get the relationship between two of her centers. And so we decided to engage in a process of meditation where we actually connected in to the body, connected into the flows of energy that were actually moving for her internally. And then we could tease out and explore this tension through the use of imagery. So as a result of our work together, she drew this image. And for those who want to understand a little bit of the background, this particular woman had a defined spleen that her creative impression of that was the center on the left. She then had the 2644 that went to the ego center, and she had a defined heart. And she also had a defined solar plexus, which she has put there also at the bottom of the image. And she was connected to the solar plexus through the 59-6 and had a defined sacral. So she was an emotional generator. And even though she had these motors defined, the heart center and the solar plex center, she had wondered and was really curious about how they related to each other, how they connected to each other. And so, as you can see here, she's drawn this ego, which actually, for the sake of the way she's drawn it, she actually had all gates in her heart center defined. And this was a powerful force, and you could very much feel it when you were in her presence. Very much this determination and definite energy about what she was wanting to be involved and give her energy to. And yet she also had this very powerful emotional wave that came from her response. So as she responded, she was very much able to understand her response in the now, but then over time find the clarity. And actually it's almost like a little wave that she has on her solar plexus center. So she had really found her way through navigating this wave, that she had found a way of understanding what clarity meant for her. But it was the relationship between the heart center and the solar plexus, which really kind of interested her and engaged her. And so through the act of drawing this aspect of her chart, and through the act of kind of meditating and getting into that space almost internally within the body, she was able to see the relationship in a whole new way. And in some ways, she was able to give her heart center and its power the recognition that it deserved, and that it was this powerful force. But she could also understand how different that was to that sacred response. And she could see that there was an energy between them. And yet what she began to decipher through the image making and drawing of her centers was that she could respect her heart center and the will and determination that it gave her, but she could also tune into the sometimes more subtle element of clarity within the emotional solar plexus. So I think that through the drawing, she was able to kind of pick apart this relationship and in some ways give each center its dues, give each center its own place in her chart, and understand the nuances between them because they weren't connected. And what was interesting is she had the hanging 40. And actually, I have the hanging 37. And so in my company, that bridge would have been split. So even my presence, even my capacity to hold space for her, allowed her to have a feel and a sense of that relationship that existed between those centers so that she could formulate a new and a different understanding. So I think that was really kind of interesting from my perspective to witness that, but for her to see the dynamic relationship that existed between those two centers. And engaging in the creative process, I've had people sit for 30 minutes and literally draw and go back to their drawing and go back to making lines or using a particular color, and they can really dive deeply into their relationship. This particular woman, she probably spent 5 minutes on this. It was quick. The use of color allowed her to create a distinction between the centers, and the kind of the action and the movement allowed her to form some sort of connection. So I just wanted to give you a very kind of quick example of how human design and creative self-care session might work for you. So if you're interested, I'll put a link below and you can perhaps discover and look at your human design from a completely new perspective. Because I know that I, probably for about the first 10 years of my experiment, was so interested in the knowledge, and it's endless, and I'm still learning, and I'm still beginning to, understand the nuances of various different aspects of my chart, especially the gates, the lines, and then of course the substructure. But sometimes it's really nice just to sit at the surface and really make it more tangible for yourself in terms of watching how the energies move, what we have access to that's reliable and what isn't so reliable. And rather than in a culture where we tend to try and continuously fix what's broken, and I'm talking about a woman with the channel 1858, rather than fix what's broken or the conditioning in our open centers or that not self voice of the open centers or undefined centers, how do we work with what we do have? How do we acknowledge what we have so that we have somewhere to come home to, somewhere where we can belong to again and again and again, irrespective of what life is throwing in our direction. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and check out the link below of information on my one-to-one sessions. Take care.